I didn't want to just enjoy the fall season, I wanted to capture it. I used solar dye and real leaves to print fall straight into fabric, and then I turned it into a quilt. Stick around and I'll show you how to do it yourself. Be sure to like and subscribe, and let's jump right in. I knew I wanted to do something in the spirit of cyanotype. So after a little digging, I found the Jacquard Solar Fast Sunlight Dye. This stuff is like super fun. You brush it onto your fabric or paper, you let the sun do its thing, and then you wash it out to reveal your print. It comes in a bunch of different colors, so I picked 3 fall tones: burnt orange, sepia, and brown. I plan to create a 50 by 50 inch lap quilt. Using my 3 colors, I played around with the design and landed on this final pattern. I chose a soft linen because I wanted the quilt to feel like fall. I wanted it to feel soft and relaxed and maybe a little lived in. With linen, it's best to use a slightly larger seam allowance so it doesn't fray when you wash it. I planned a 1/2 inch seam allowance, with each block being 5 inches by 5 inches finished, giving me a 50 by 50 inch lap quilt. That meant I needed 96 6 by 6 inch squares, plus one 11 by 11 inch square for the center. Before you commit to your real pieces, I'd recommend doing a few small test swatches on your chosen fabric just to see kind of how it takes the color, how long you need to expose it, and then how much dye you'll actually end up using. So I cut a few tiny squares, brushed on the dye, and then I brought them outside. I actually exposed them for different time increments to see when the color looked right. After a few tries, I landed on about 25 minutes as my sweet spot, with the sun directly overhead and no clouds in sight. Of course, I learned that I have to be a little flexible depending on the time of day and how clear the sky is. Cloud cover definitely extends your development time. I went out and I've gathered a variety of different leaves. I have a sugar maple in the front that is just turning absolutely gorgeous red. And the leaves are a variety of sizes, which I like. There's some that are really small, and then there's some that are a little bit bigger, so I think that'll create a cool effect. I also have another maple in the back that hasn't really started to change yet, but the leaves are just massive, and I would like to add some of those as well. And then I have a basswood tree in the backyard that is just starting to turn a little bit yellow, but these leaves are just so different, they're just so big. So I think that will be a fun element to include. And I just have some other smaller leaves and natural pieces that I'm going to try to incorporate in spots that need it. Now this medium is a dye, so make sure that you're wearing gloves. I'm working with the sepia today. This medium is super interesting because it has a really different consistency to it. It almost reminds me of like a gravy. It doesn't really soak in as well as I thought it would, but it's not too hard to brush on, and you might have to add more or less depending. And it seems like the consistency is different depending on the color as well. I found that some of the colors seemed thicker than others. I did read that you can water this medium down, but I wanted the strongest colors possible, and it wasn't too hard to apply with the foam brush once the brush got a little bit more saturated. So I'm just brushing this medium into each panel, making sure to cover every inch of that white linen. I found that as long as the panel seems like a uniform color, I'm getting a uniform dye. I try to make sure that there's no spots that seem a little bit lighter than others. I want that color to be consistent across each of the panels. And then I'm just taking all of my leaves and I'm kind of playing around with the layouts of each. I want to include pieces of all of the leaves, and I even like the ones that have some holes in them. It's fun to see the sun develop the fabric through those little holes. And once you have all of your leaves placed how you like them, I am using a piece of glass to weigh down the leaves. You need something to weigh the leaves down and keep them flat. Otherwise, the sun is going to develop in weird ways around the edges. You're not going to get those crisp edges. So I ended up running to Goodwill and I found a picture frame. And so this board here is just the back of the picture frame. I've taken the frame itself off and then I'm using the piece of glass to weigh down these leaves. And I'm pressing these leaves down just a little bit, making sure that these edges are crisp, that I don't have any overlaps where I don't want overlaps. I'm letting this develop today for 25 minutes. If it's more sunny out, I'm able to go less time. But if it's not as sunny out, I have had to go up to an hour to get the color that I'm looking for. So you almost have to experiment and test out the different development times depending on the amount of sun you have today. Today's a bright, sunny fall day, so I think we'll get a good print in 25 minutes. I found that that was the shortest amount of time to get the color that I was looking for. So let's take this outside and get it developing. So once these sat out there for 25 minutes, you're gonna see how the sun affected that final dye. This is my favorite part. Look at how interesting the basswood leaves. You can almost see through the leaf. I'm getting some veins. So those leaves are a little bit thinner than the maple leaves. And I just have a bucket that I'm throwing these into that has the Solar Fast wash in it. And then I'm just going to agitate these for a few minutes, squeezing them, washing off that dye. I'm going to take my panels inside, rinse them off with really, really hot water, and then hang them up to dry.
So this project took way longer than I thought it would. I mean, don't get me wrong, I genuinely enjoyed doing it. It was really satisfying, but it took forever. I could only do 6 panels at a time, and I had 96 panels. And each one had to sit for at least 25 minutes. You do the math. And if the sun decided to not show up that day, no prints. So on sunny days, I was basically sprint printing outside for the few hours when the sun was the strongest. But crafting isn't a race, right?
And now it's time for my centerpiece. I'm most looking forward to this piece because I have a cool idea on how I want this big panel in the center to look. And the key here is going to be keeping my leaves down. When I take it outside, I have to make sure that glass is on there really good so none of these shift, since I want them to stay specifically where I place them. Let's take this outside and see how it prints. All right, let's get the final reveal of the center. I'm going to take this glass off. I'm so excited to see how this centerpiece turned out. I think it's going to be really pretty. Let's get this rinsed off, and this was my last piece, so I'm super excited to start putting this together.
Once all the panels were done, I taped them up on the wall and wow, the quilt was finally coming together. Seeing all my hard work and the colors and the patterns lining up was so satisfying. To assemble the quilt, I'm just sewing all of my squares together and I'm creating the rows. And then I am pressing and sewing all of the rows together. So it's actually coming along quite quickly. I think I'm kind of on a roll. So I'm just going to keep assembling and I will check back in when I get to the center. I'm ironing my seams opposite of the row before it so that all of my seams lay really flat when I assemble my quilt. With my quilt top finished, I could finally see what I had been imagining. Then it was time to layer it into a quilt sandwich. For my quilt backing, I found a brown bedsheet at Goodwill for only $3.99. I laid that out on the kitchen floor and smoothed out all the wrinkles. I then added my batting and smoothed that out as well. Lastly, I added my quilt top. I then went through and added safety pins throughout my quilt sandwich to make sure that nothing moved while I top stitched. I cut down the sides of the quilt, leaving a few inches around the edge to start and stop my stitching. And then I was ready to top stitch. I plan to stitch 1/4 inch next to each of my quilt top seams. I used a dark thread to stand out against my panels. It was hard at times to work with that amount of fabric in my small sewing machine, but I found it made it easier if I rolled the extra fabric when I was feeding it into the machine. It just goes to show you that you don't need any fancy tools to make a quilt, just a little patience and creativity. After I was done top stitching, I removed all my safety pins and I cut down my quilt to size. I like to use the lines in my floor to make sure that the cuts are straight. All that was left was to bind the quilt. I created a long strip of binding from the rest of my bedsheet. I ironed the pieces in half, pinned and sewed them to the back of the quilt. I then folded it all over to complete it on the front. I am by no means a quilt binding expert, so I'd recommend watching a few more YouTube videos before you get to this step. I actually messed up the corners quite a bit and had to improvise. I am in love with how this quilt turned out. It captures fall so beautifully, and I think it's extra fun that all of the leaves in this quilt came from my backyard. It is a beautiful representation of this season, and I'm so looking forward to using this solar dye in the future. Thanks for watching!